Today, we want to bring in Texas Congressman who supports the current replacement bill, Babin. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning,
you've got
Maria.
the votes. Without the Democrats, you're not getting any support from the Democrats.
Absolutely not. And, you know, I just heard the quotes from my Democratic colleagues. You know, the biggest joke is Obamacare, and the American people are overwhelmingly opposed to it. And we're finally going to get our act together today, and I'm confident we're going to pass it, probably with a small margin, but nevertheless, we're going to pass it and give some choice and freedom to the American people on health care.
Do you think it resonates with the public when you see all of this obstruction? Do you think, you know, when Chuck Schumer says it's a swamp cabinet and Nancy Pelosi calls the health care bill a monstrosity, and you just heard McGovern say it's a mess, do people really believe that?
I can tell you most of my constituents don't, and I think the American people, I mean, they had an overwhelming turnout, a revolution at the ballot box,
right.
And they wanted to go in a different direction. So I don't think it's registering with the American people as being truthful and upfront. Elections have consequences, Maria, and they've got to just get with it. Mr. Trump's got an agenda. We do too in the House and Senate. And we must get these things passed. And if we don't get past health care, we don't get on to tax reform and reg reform and the rest of the agenda. So we have to do it today.
So, Congressman, I'm curious. I've been trying to understand exactly what's in this health care bill. It's really hard to find the information. Dagan did a really great job of summarizing it for us. But can you tell me the three things that you want everyone to know about this health care bill that you're proposing today?
Well, I think probably the first thing is that we're not going to dump a whole bunch, 24 million people off of health care, because this is simply not true. This is not true whatsoever. We're going to give people choice, and if they elect their own Obamacare, they don't like it, and they choose to drop off, well, that's their business. This is what America's all about. We don't believe in government knows best on everything, a top-down program like what we've seen. We're going to give choice. We're going to have health savings accounts. We're going to allow waivers for states to take up the slack and the federal government back off, so that individual states who like Obamacare type policies in their health care, they can keep that. If not, like my state of Texas and several other good states, that we'll have the freedom to choose what we want, tailor our policies to individuals and families, and lower the premiums and the deductibles that have been just killing working class Americans now for 7 years.
Congressman, I'll push back. It's Dagan McDowell. I'm going to push back on what you were just saying, because the Democrats have gotten a big leg up on you guys and gals in the Republican Party in terms of talking repeatedly about the pre-existing conditions issue. And you need to message better that people will be covered for pre-existing conditions under this bill, that it might be handled differently if the states want to. But again, over and over again, this is a small part of the population. It is a relatively small issue, but the Democrats time and again hammer you guys on it.
Well, I can't argue with that. I think our messaging could have been a lot better over the weeks and months. And quite frankly, I think people with pre-existing conditions are going to be fairly pleased with the results of this thing. You know, the obvious thing is that Obamacare is unsatisfactory completely, has to be gotten rid of. And we've got to get back to freedom and choice, and that's what this thing does. Is it perfect? No, it is not. But yes, we could always message better, Dagan. Thank you.
Well, let me ask you about the spending bill. This is another area where the messaging wasn't right on. Congress is taking steps to avoid a government shutdown. Obviously, yesterday, passing that $1 trillion spending bill, sir. The Senate expected to quickly follow suit. Both President Trump and House Speaker Paul Ryan hailed it as a victory. But you voted against the spending bill. Why?
I absolutely did. I feel like that, you know, it was about 1,750 pages long. We didn't get to see what was in it until Monday. And it, quite frankly, funds a lot of things that we campaigned against. And I think the American people went to the polls and voted against these types of policies. It continues to fund Obama-era policies. There are some good things in it. Believe me, I'm a military veteran myself. I think there were some good things in there for the military, but it was far outweighed by the amount of money and the types of policies that it's going to continue. For instance, sanctuary cities, Planned Parenthood, not funding the wall. It does fund some fencing, but it doesn't fund the wall. You know, the president and most of us in the Republican conference campaigned on border security. So, you know, with that kind of spending, I just felt like this is something I could not support. Progressive type policies that we are all excuse me, we are all against.
So what happened? I mean, the other thing is you wanted a decrease in domestic spending. You're actually looking at an increase in domestic spending. Did you get rolled over again by the Democrats?
Well, you know what? As long as they have a filibuster rule in the United States Senate where we have to have 60 votes, we essentially give the veto pen to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer with a 60-vote filibuster rule.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing something with reconciliation. Quite frankly, it's a real problem. We wouldn't have Judge Gorsuch sitting on the Supreme Court now had we continued with the filibuster rule. So I particularly believe that that this is something that the Senate is going to have to address if we want to get a large percentage of the agenda of Donald Trump and most of us in Congress through into law.
You know, you wonder, you said earlier elections have consequences. You wonder if the American people are going to remember all of the obstructionism going on right now. I was complaining earlier in the program, the American people want business to get done.
They do.
So all of this obstructionism from the left, even on sanctuary cities, right? A Texas Senate approved the controversial sanctuary cities ban that would make it a crime for law enforcement to refuse cooperation with federal immigration officials. So Governor Greg Abbott is expected to sign the measure into law. What are your thoughts, Congressman?
I know Governor Abbott well, and he's a fine conservative gentleman, a great leader in the state of Texas, and I feel certain that he will sign this law. It's necessary. Texas is a conservative state, but we have some sanctuary areas. Notably, the biggest is Austin, Texas, and Travis County. When the Homeland Security Department was releasing their name and shame list of the thousands of offenses that criminal aliens were committing in the country, the last one I saw had 13 pages for Travis County, Texas. And it's amazing to me that elected officials would put their own citizens at risk for political correctness and diversity, et cetera, et cetera. Our first duty as elected officials is to uphold the safety and national security of our own constituents and our own country and constituencies.
You're absolutely right, yeah.
That's right. So
I mean, look at MS-13.
I'm looking forward to it.
There's this gang murdering people here in Long Island, Bob Nardelli, and this is illegal immigrants, part of the gang.
Every time you have an issue like this, it just continues to justify President Trump's position on immigration. Two of the three individuals that were convicted here or arrested were illegal, unregistered.
Congressman, thanks so much for weighing in this morning. We appreciate it.
You bet. It's good to be with you.
And to you, Congressman Brian Babin, joining us there. We'll take a